Alexis. Welcome to Spark TV.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
I am so excited to share your story. Let's start out by telling everyone who you are and what you do.
Sure. So my name is Alexis Fenton, and I am the founder of Brandfluff, which is a full 360 marketing and content agency, which we service clients all over Asia, UK, the US, and Australia. And I'm also the co-founder of two other businesses which are launching next year. One in the performance apparel space for entertainers,
Mm.
so dancers, acrobats, gymnasts for training, children and adults alike. And then I'm actually starting an new tech AI media company with another person next year. So lots of fun things happening in my world.
Oh my God. So you don't sleep? Is that right?
You know what? I said no to a lot of things for so long, and now I'm saying yes, because what's the worst that can happen?
Totally. I love that. It's, so much of the advice online is like, focus and just everything you're saying yes to, you're saying no to. And it's kind of like negative vibes around doing a lot. But I love it. If you're passionate and you've got the energy, why not? Because you just also never know what works and what doesn't. So I feel like you have to try a lot of things in this life that we have.
Exactly. I think as well, after I had my child, my perception changed of how much time I actually had in a day.
Yeah.
And I realized that I had so much time pre-children, and now I want to use that for the best ability for myself. So I'm opening myself up to new like opportunities. And like you said, sometimes, and I think as you as a business person as well, evolve over time. So what necessarily serves you when you first started it may not be what you love as you grow. And so I want to try a couple of different things and see what sparks my interest, because I just feel like, you've got one brain and one opportunity to do all the fun things. So no, why not try?
Oh,
And
I love
obviously
that.
I am like, I'm taking risks and stuff, but they're calculated. Like, don't go crazy if you physically can't like do the work. I think that's the biggest thing.
Oh, I love that. And I love that you just said that things you change, you evolve over time. That is so true. I think sometimes people start their business and then resent it. And I think they have to just stay in the one place when really you're the boss. You get to actually choose how your business looks, whether it continues, whether it evolves, whether it changes. You're in the driver's seat.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes as well, you put a lot of pressure and expectation on yourself to stay where you were, because you kind of committed to that idea when you first started. And it's okay to pivot. And I think from anything, like even COVID has taught us, is you have to pivot, because
Mm.
things change whether you like them or not. So it's good to have backups available. It's good to forward plan, I could do this. Maybe I won't do it now, but it's in the back of my mind. But also, I think you need to go to work and love what you do. And when you own your own
Mm.
business, you are like down in the trenches, doing all the things that you hate as well as the things you love. So if you could design, what most makes you happy, like lean into that. And that's what I did last year with actually this year with my business. I made a decision to like sort of flow into a new path, because that's
Oh.
literally where my heart soared, and my team, they love that area. So I was like, we can still offer, all of these other things that we're doing, but let's focus on really directing our, passions into this direction. So, and I don't think it's a bad thing, but I did have guilt about like kind of where I started and then where I ended up. I felt really bad. And I was like, who cares? It's my business. No one else cares. Like, why are you putting this guilt on yourself? I think it's just a human nature.
So talk to me about the change. What is it that you're like, nope, this is the thing that I love. We're going to triple down on that. What is that thing?
So my background in a nutshell is in startups. So I've like worked in startups for like over 20 years, and I love it. And I've learned a lot of different things. And when I started Brandfluff, I actually started it as a content marketing agency only. So we were facilitating startup content to help people kind of get to the next level if they didn't have the knowledge, time, manpower, whatever it was. Now my background obviously in startups means I know pretty much every type of marketing that you can do. So social events, influencer, like all the data side, all the digital side. So it's very broad. And we ended up evolving into like the full 360 space, which is great. And we can do all the work. It's not a problem. But really, my passion is in creative marketing. It's in content marketing. It's actually producing like world-class content that is actually going to propel you outside of your competitors and take inspiration for more of a global stance as well, because that's my background. You know, I refuse to be limited by the country that you live in. Like your expertise and your inspiration can come from anything across the globe. And I think that's really what sets you apart from the rest, because you're not following trends within your own country. You are like stepping up and trying new things, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But I really love thinking like very large, like what if we could do it, what would it look like? And then you go, okay, well, this is the type of money that I'm working with, like let's make it work within this budget, or let's try to make it work. And honestly, I've built my entire career around that. And you don't need to have crazy budgets. Like you just don't, because I've been like one woman in most of those businesses, like in those startups with like literally nothing, and you can make it happen. It's just getting outside your own limited beliefs on like what's possible and connecting with the right people.
Oh, I love this so much because as someone who talks to a lot of women in business,
Mhm.
content and social is like their bugbear. They don't want to
Yeah.
be the kind of they don't want to be the face. They don't want to spend time on it. They just kind of don't know what to do. And I kind of love that you just said you don't need a big budget. You just need to
Mhm.
think bigger and connect with the right people. I absolutely adore that. What if you were giving advice to a woman in business about getting herself out there creatively?
Yeah.
Where should she start? Like, what should she, how do you actually go, what's going on in the world? Like, what are other people doing? How do I get inspired when I hate socials?
Yeah. I think to be honest, it's first of all, confidence within
Mm,
yourself and your business is like the number one. If you have no confidence within you and your skill set or your team's skill set and your business, it's going to come across that way online. Confidence opens so many doors, regardless of how skilled you are. Some of the best salespeople are just charisma. Like that's all they are. And they can't do anything else. Whereas, you know, I think it's true to be like, value who you are and your gift and then sell that. But I would say for inspiration, you need to like research. You need to get on
mm,
these platforms. You need to do the work. You need to look at other people in your industry or just cool brands that are doing cool things that you're like, I would like to try that. I don't know how. Let's like find a way. And in saying that, I also think it's really key to know that not everything is relevant for you. It has to
mm.
make sense to your brand and you personally, because you need to I preface this by saying everyone won't like what they do when they first start. Everyone will find it cringy. Like as in you yourself, you
Yeah.
won't like your first taste, regardless of how experienced you are. I work with performers who are stage performers and have been for decades, and they still freak out. So if you're like starting out, that's so normal to be nervous because everyone is. But I would say you need to create something that you know you can directly talk to or talk about that is true to your zone of genius and your knowledge. But if someone asks you questions, you're not going to be afraid to answer those questions because you know what you're talking about. And then in terms of like the creative side as well, I think like looking at what others are doing and taking inspiration, getting mood boards, really going down the rabbit hole on like, okay, how does this look, feel, sit for me? Let's try all different things. I think it's really key, and especially in the beauty of this day and age in social, you can try so many different things, and every
Mm.
platform has completely different styles of content. You could try storytelling on TikTok only. You could try aesthetic content or educational content on Instagram. Facebook is really like all for groups, you know, and then you've got Pinterest, and like there's so many different things you can do. But I think it's not being afraid is the first one. And you just have to start, and you just have to put yourself out there, because no one else is going to do it for you. And if you are nervous, it will come across. And don't do it if you
Mm.
don't love it. There's other ways of doing it. I think that's the key. And like personally for me, who coaches people, I'm not going to force you to get in front of the camera if you really, really hate it, because your energy is just not going to transfer to the right person. And that's the beauty of this world that we live in. There's so many other options now, even more so than they used to be, which is great.
Yeah, and I do love that. I think that, because we're consumers and we're sitting on the couch scrolling through TikTok and Instagram, we kind of go, that's all there is. That's where I have to be.
Yeah.
But you are so spot on. There are so many different channels, so many different strategies, tactics when it comes to marketing. I love that thought of like finding what makes you feel confident, finding the best way for you to show up. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's just so powerful for people.
And I
Now,
think,
yeah.
sorry, I forgot one thing. I was going to say LinkedIn is like my favorite platform, not necessarily for like content ideas, but if you go to those marketing pages where they share really cool campaigns that other people are doing, they're just clever. And I think
Mm.
that's the key, is looking at what sparks your interest, as like, what would you stop and what would you see? And sometimes it's purely just the edit, to be honest. Like, it has nothing else to do with the rest of the content. So I think LinkedIn is a great one, but also expanding your network on LinkedIn, because then you get fed more cool things from more cool people doing fun stuff. And in saying that, like, I preface this by saying we work with creative industries all the way through to professional services, which are like very, very professional and don't like to push the boundaries. But there are ways of doing it. You just have to be savvy, I think. And yeah, I just wanted to say that.
No, I love that because I love LinkedIn too. And you're spot on. It's kind of like sometimes I think we feel guilty for research and networking, but like if you had a full-time job, that you would do that to support your
Yes.
role. So as a business owner or a CEO, we actually do need to invest that time to research what's going on, network with people who are making it happen. And I think that
Mhm.
when we do that, we do get that inspiration.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just you have to be in the right rooms with the right people. So whether that's on the digital side or like in person, and like, don't get me wrong, like I do get nervous about networking too sometimes if I don't know the room or I don't know the people in the room. But if I know that I'm walking into a room of people that are similar to me, then I'm far more confident to have those conversations. And I think that's like a really big part as well of growth in yourself as a business owner, and knowing, is this going to be relevant to my time? You know what I mean? Is this actually going to help me get ahead, connect with people that could potentially inspire me or help me in some way? I think, and LinkedIn can really help you get there. And some of the best leads I've ever gotten have been cold off LinkedIn.
Yeah, same. Oh my God. And I love
Mhm.
LinkedIn because you can literally find the exact person in the exact role at the
Yes.
exact business that you're trying to target. It's like a gold mine for sales and marketing.
I know, it's honestly brilliant. And I think that's why I say to people, I connect with people every single day on that platform, because I'm like, I love that business. I'm just going to connect with all the people in the business. And then, it's people who you may know that maybe be connected, and it's just a gold mine. It makes networking and finding people so much easier to start conversations, or just to purely explore like what's happening in the world, or what are people doing, what are people saying, how are they responding to different campaigns. And that's what I love about on the marketing side as well. Something that I would love gets posted as like a thought pattern on LinkedIn, and people are like, I hate it, and these are the reasons I hate it. And I'm like, actually, that's like a really good perception,
Mm.
because I didn't think about it like that. And then sometimes it's a good way just to, for your consumers as well and your customers, to be like, okay, this is how potentially I think that they would like resonate with my campaign.
I love that. Now, I want to talk about the new performance
Hmm.
business.
Yes.
How did you get into this space and what's it all about?
So my career actually started at Warner Brothers. I
Oh,
worked in the theme
cool.
parks before I moved abroad. And then I moved into like really creative industries. So, and then I was a drama major at theater. So I'm like entertainment gal, like
Oh,
drama gal
cool.
through and through. And I really love working in the entertainment space. So when I came back home, I was working in various entertainment companies, and now I have a client, Pink Flamingo, on the Gold Coast in Brisbane, who a lot of people probably know about, who are amazing, and they just are incredible, and we've been working with them for such a long time. And I connected with some people who are in the same industry as me, different backgrounds, but we all see the need for, so performance artists, gymnasts, dancers, acrobats, the way that they move their bodies and the way that they train is very different to a normal person. It's
Mm.
function, and the type of material has to not roll, not move on the body. So we've spent a few years actually developing this particular styles and material that sticks to the body like a second skin and allows you to train at the highest level without being inhibited by what you're wearing, because
Wow.
it's very dangerous what these people are doing. And I think that's the one thing, is you kind of just, a lot of the time it's really funny, even for like fishnets and stuff, they'll buy them and then they'll rip them because it doesn't
Mm.
actually function the way it needs to function for them to do their jobs. So we are wanting to create a company that facilitates that. And there's only one other company in the world that actually does it, which is actually quite incredible. But we are going for children as well, because a lot of high level acrobats, contortionists start very, very young across
Mm.
the world in training. And so we're developing a range that lasts children through adulthood, men and women. Yeah, it's very, very exciting. So
It's
we
so
launched
cool.
early in the year next year. So we've got everything ready to go, and now we're just doing all the marketing bits.
Oh my God, it's so amazing. How has it been different from building a services-based business to now building a product-based business? How have you found the difference?
Well, this is actually my very first product-based business, because I am like service girl through and
Yeah.
through. So for me, it's a whole new ball game. I mean, I do market other e-commerce brands and things like that, but to develop one is a very different feeling. Because I think with service, it's a very emotional tug. Like the
Mm.
experience they get is so emotional, and they get attached to the brand and they grow and love it. But I think with e-commerce, it's a little bit different because it's not the same sort of share. So I'm learning a lot. I'm actually doing a lot of my own knowledge and research, to be honest, because I want to be really good at this as well for my team. Um, but yeah, and I'm excited to see where it goes. But I'm definitely like not one to sit back and be like, I know it all, because I absolutely don't in this space. And it's just an interesting way of learning.
That's so cool. And that's a really interesting comment, isn't it? It's like a good way of learning. It's like doing is the best way to learn because it
Yes.
is like you have to figure it out, have to do the research, have to try, have to fail, have to try again. It's like the best way to become awesome at something.
Absolutely. I think you need to give it your best shot. And I think it comes to a point where you have to be egoless enough to be like, okay, there's parts of my business that I just really don't like, or they take too much time, or like what I'm putting out into them isn't giving me the same return. So I need to look at like outsourcing certain parts, which I
Yeah.
think is really key, because as someone who literally just tries to do it all, I know that there's things that take me a lot longer and are not a great use of my time. So I'm like, okay, I need to ask for help in like these places. Plus, I also want to be successful quickly, or, not quickly, but I want to drive success, more faster. So,
Mm.
I'm like, okay, how can I utilize like other incredible people in my network potentially to help me get there? Only because I think I'm really keen on letting good things take time. But you need to put your best foot forward. So if you are struggling, there are amazing freelancers out there that can help you do some of the work that really doesn't exist. There's also, for example, like we basically pride ourselves on, we're not like an agency. We are really core, like remote heads of department that you would use. A super small team. We only work with a super small number of clients, because we want to give you the same experience as if you had your own team member.
That's cool.
Versus being in an agency and you're just one of so many clients, and you just kind of get pushed down based on how much money you're sort of giving the agency as well. I don't believe in that. Um, I believe that everyone deserves the same amount of care and attention, regardless of the money you spend, because you're outlaying your money. You know what I mean? Regardless of how much it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think that's something to really take away as well. And something I've definitely learned is, yeah, getting others to assist in in areas that I'm like a little bit slower and not really good at.
I love that. Do you have any tips when it comes to, because I think sometimes people get to the point where they know they need to start getting help. They
Mm,
know they need to outsource, but then they go, oh my God, do I have to hire a full-time person? What if it doesn't work out? Like, do you have
yeah.
any tips for actually kickstarting the process of starting to outsource some of the jobs?
Yeah, I think this is always like a very big like fearful decision for a lot of people,
Mm,
because unless you've been recommended someone, it's very overwhelming, looking for someone externally. I don't believe in like hiring straight away unless you literally have the funds available to you to support that person, because we all know businesses goes up and down, and you are supporting a teammate or team
mm,
like members if you
yeah.
decide to hire in-house. So I would always recommend starting with contractors, seeing if you love them and if they fit your style of work as well. And you can do local contractors and you can still meet up with them, as if you had your own team. But I think it's nice to start that way. Then you can get your budgets under control. You can see how much you can actually afford. You don't have to worry about, their super and their holidays and all the things. You can just worry about their contractor fees. But then also it allows you to try different personality types, because that's the hardest part, is hiring
Yes.
the skill and personality and actually making it work. Or because if you do hire someone that's opposite to you, that can also be a great thing because they bring different skill sets to the table. But you might find that that is a little bit of a challenge for you to figure out how to work with that person. And if you are someone who is like hyper creative and like very hands on, it can be a challenge for you to let go as well.
Mhm.
So sometimes it's a process of learning how to let go. And you need to do the work as well when you hire someone, because no one is a good boss straight away. You need to learn how to lead people and how to help them. And I think that's also something that you learn when you're hiring. But I would always go with recommendations first. I would always look at groups, see what other people are saying. But generally for me, I try and get like a verbal recommendation.
Mm.
Only because it's personable. Or if I'm like looking around, I'm like, I remember that person, I really liked them and I really liked the energy, then I'll reach out to them and see. But it can be really daunting. But I think it's just you need to allow time. Like, don't go crazy and go, I have to find someone this week. And so I'm just going to find whoever. I just think that's not a great way to do it. But you can get like contract, you can
Yeah.
ask people to do like a one-off contract for you, for a month if you're like really limited on time, and it will get you over the line. And then you can be like, hey, next time I want to try this person or this or whatever it is.
Yeah, that is such great advice. I think that we don't make the call, we don't make the decision to bring somebody into our team because we think it has to be everything. Even
Mm,
that like idea of just a project, so just this, it's a restricted amount of time, it's this outcome. I can figure out whether they're a good fit or not, and then maybe it does evolve into something, or maybe it doesn't, whatever it is. But it's like such a far less risky way of going about it and starting to get help and expand, without the risk. I love that.
absolutely. And that's honestly how I started my team. So I have like Jasmine, who's worked with me for 2 years now. She's my first hire, but she was a contractor first.
Mm,
So we worked together on a few different things, and then I could see what she loved. And I was like, that's actually going to work for me and where I am in my business. And it just allows you to make different decisions. But it's always like a learning process on both sides for you. And it can be so freeing of your time as well, and having others that can just take the reins and do the work for you. But I think it's just finding those right people can be really tricky or challenging. And trust me, they don't always live in the same country that you are in either.
yeah.
I am working on a project at the moment overseas, and the entire team is in like They're all over the world because
Wow.
they've been like sort of handpicked based off their skill versus their location. And if you can make that work, you can make that work. But yeah, I think that's the benefit of remote working now is you have access to really great brains, not
Mm.
necessarily just where you live.
How do you manage them? Do you use like a chat or a project management tool? Like, how do you keep everyone organized when they're all over the world?
So I like to use, I mean, I've tried a whole bunch of different things, to be honest. I really like Trello as kind of like a note board. I mean, I know a lot of people use Notion, and I would love to use Notion, but please God, I need someone to set it up for me because I have no time.
Yeah.
Um, but I like WhatsApp for like quick messages and quick updates, Zooms for check-ins. I'm kind of a bit more, I'm hands-on with my clients, but I like to be more hands-off with my employees because I want them to you feel empowered in their role. As long as we're like on the same page and we're delivering the result, that's where I live and we have the same goals and the same mindset. But I do think you need to be accountable for the work,
Mm,
and also not expect others to be as dedicated as what you are. It's not their business. It's
yeah.
just not. And it's not their responsibility to work the hours that you work. They are an employee and you need to, cherish them and love them for what they are and their output, but you cannot expect them to be you. I think that's really unfair and it's quite old school thinking. When I grew up, that was the expectation that you worked 80 hours, 100 hours a week and did the work. It doesn't work.
Same.
So
I'm now I'm
I
like
think,
now I'm
yeah,
like, what happened to everybody? Why are we not coming in first and leaving last and answering all our
I
emails?
know. But you know what? There are still people that are like that. And
Mm,
that's lucky if you find someone like that. But as long as the work is getting produced in the
yeah.
time that you've allocated to it, that's all that matters. There's always going to be work that needs to be done, always. But I think it's prioritizing and making it work the most effectively for your business. And then if you need to scale, you need to add more people. Like there's a whole other thing that come with that.
I love it. I love it so much. Now, you and I could talk all day, but I always love to wrap up these podcasts with one last piece of advice. So,
Mhm.
reflecting on your time in business, what
Yes.
would be one piece of advice that you would give to another woman on her business journey?
I would say the key to, I think, longevity in a career like marketing, which is very challenging, is to have a sense of like delusion and eternal optimism around everything that you do. Because if you believe that opportunity and like positivity exists, and it can change at any time, you'll be able to like overcome any challenge. But if you allow yourself to like sponge, emotions or like feelings from meetings or whatever it is, like you'll never be able to like have the career that you want. I think like truly that's how I believe I've lasted in some of the most challenging situations in marketing is that I'm like, it's all right. It only takes one yes. I'll get 1,000 no's, but it only takes one yes. And I just believe that better things are coming always, regardless of how shit it's been. And 2024 has been a really tough year for me personally and professionally. And I'm really excited for next year because I've been like doing the work to make change. And I think that's key as well. You need to do the work. You can't just
Mm.
expect it to happen. You have to put yourself in new places, new rooms with new peoples. Actually do those small steps that make like really positive impact and positive change and never compare yourself to others because everyone is different. And if you compare yourself to others, you'll just be in this cycle of misery and like loss of self-worth. So I think, yeah, that for me is like the biggest thing. It's leading with a kind heart and like delusion, everything's going to be wonderful because
Oh my
what
God, I love
ifs?
it. I love it so much. And do you know what's hilarious about this conversation? It must be the time of year. This is the second call I've had today where we've talked about equal parts determination and delusion.
Yes, but it's so true. I don't know if it's like a fight or flight response that we've all developed like over our careers and our like whatever it is, but I just I don't know. I feel like the people that I meet that like sort of lead the same lifestyle as me in terms of that mindset are the people that like the weirdest, coolest stuff happens to because they just it's like what
Open
would
to
make it
it.
happen? Why
Yeah.
wouldn't it be me? Do you know what I mean? It can be them. Why can't it be me? So I think, yeah, it's, and business is tough. So you've got to find ways to help yourself through it and like navigate the challenges and internally pull yourself up because no one's going to do it except you. Like it's your business.
Oh my God, Alexis, you are absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your experience and your wisdom. So valuable. And I know everyone tuning in would have gotten a lot of out of that. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Danielle. It's honestly been awesome. And what a great way to end 2024.